Well, hello everybody. Derek here, and I'm here to bring you my review for the most recent episode of Z Nation, which was Sisters of Mercy. And I am still not over the shocking amount of awesomeness that was contained in that episode. That was, without a doubt, the best episode of the season, in my opinion. Even better than Resurrection Z. That was amazing. If Z Nation can write episodes like that every week, they would be a very big force to be reckoned with. That was absolutely amazing. So many things to talk about. So I'm going to get right to it. If you have not watched the episode, big spoilers ahead. Okay, you do not want to watch if you have not seen it yet. Okay, so the episode basically starts out with the group getting back together, just like we saw in the last week's trailer. um, Citizen Z is able to reunite them, and we see that a lot of the episode is really focused on Mac and Addie. And basically, Addie is, she seems to be okay at the start. Back to her, old Addie self, as I like to say. She's I like to call her, happy-go-lucky in some respects, like doing the Cinderella rhyme as she's killing zombies, and it's just, part of me thinks that in some ways that's Addie, coping with being in this zombie apocalypse world, because one of the things that we've noticed throughout the, series is that Addie in some ways is very haunted by flashbacks. And as we saw before, that she had killed her mother as a zombie, and she also lost her brother. And that had a very big effect on her and caused her to, repress those memories. Now they're out, and, they can affect her just as much as they may have in the past. And we see that come into play later on in the episode as they're driving further towards their destination. They come to, passing Salt Lake City by several miles. And they find child zombies along the way, and they're like, what the heck? And basically, they end up finding this child. I don't remember his name, but he had left this group, and basically said that he was on his way to go see his father in Salt Lake City. And they were like, oh, well, if you take us to this place that you're from, we'll drive you to Salt Lake City because we need to, get supplies for our mission. So they get there and they find out that it is a community that is run by women. And it's very, tight run community. It's basically like a very strong militia of women. And it seems tough on the outside. And then you go inside, and of course, all the women were allowed in. So Warren was allowed in, Cassandra and Addie, but the men had to stay outside. And of course, they weren't bored because one of the women basically got to, you know, be with Murphy. Found Murphy attractive, even though he's rotting away at the, the flesh. Found him very attractive and decided to, have some relations. How far that went, I don't know. But apparently, if you lick the zombie bite of Murphy, nothing happens to you. So, hey, great, but that was, definitely a lighter side of the episode because the rest of it is pretty much just very shocking and very dark. One of the things that we find is, again, inside the compound, it's basically a very beautiful place. And the leader of the women, I think her name was Lauren, something like that. I don't necessarily remember because I'm just now doing this. But the leader, she's an older woman who apparently vindicated herself from her husband. Now, whether her husband was abusive or not, I'm not sure. But, basically the compound is run by women because several of them were abused by men. And they distrust men, which, some women do have reason to believe that, with the experiences that they've had. So, girls are allowed to stay, and then young boys are allowed to stay. But at the moment that they reach 13, they're kicked out and basically told that they can go see their fathers in Salt Lake City. Well, Salt Lake City's abandoned and full of zombies, and I think that because of the, confinement of this community, I don't even think these kids know that there are zombies. I mean, I'm not sure exactly how exposed they are to the outside. Um, but it has an effect on Addie, whether that's good or bad. And I think that what Addie saw in this place, was something beautiful and a chance for her to basically, heal and start over because it really was a beautiful place. It's kind of sad the other things that were going on inside of it, but really when you looked at it, it was a beautiful place, and I think that Addie just, the kid in her, the person that she wanted to become, like, part of something that she could believe in, things that she felt comfortable with, that it was something that she could belong to. But of course, this group is definitely not very nice to men that they come across. I mean, I'm assuming that if you don't do anything, bad, that they won't do anything to you because all the men that they dealt with in this episode had done something. Like they rescued this one girl who was with a biker and they threw him into a barn that has a zombie bear in it. So there you go, more extensions of zombies. The zombie bear is actually pretty interesting, and Doc's saying there's a zombie bear in there was pretty pretty freaking funny. So I liked, again, that little humor there, and it's always nice to see, how far they're going to stretch the, how far they're going to stretch the zombie out, to different types of, zombie creatures that they might have. So I thought that was pretty neat. But then they go outside the compound, and I guess that there were more bikers holding more women, and yeah, the women were tied up, so it was pretty clear what they were doing. And they end up tying the bikers up. They're chaining them together. And basically, the leader tells Addie, hey, you want to be a part of this group, shoot one of them in the chest and make him turn into a zombie, and then he'll take care of the other ones. And Addie's very hesitant. And of course, Warren realizes that what is, taking control of Addie at this point. Because, the leader and Addie really did have a connection. They basically were able to build a rapport with each other. And I mean, Addie just, confessed about what happened to her mother and her brother. And, the leader was there to comfort her. And that was something that, helped establish, just how much of like a healing place that this is. And I think, in a weird sense, that Addie feels like she can heal herself here, which is kind of ironic because she ends up shooting the young biker, and he even claimed that he wasn't even part of the group, that he had been, he just got picked up by them so that they could, you know, drop him off somewhere because he got stranded. Now, whether that's true or not, we really don't know, but he didn't, seem like a hardened guy like the other two were, but, who will be to pass judgment. But, and you saw, like, all those scenes, and I think that more of what it, excuse me, I think more of what it was the fact that, Addie really is haunted by these memories. And the thing, and you can technically call it, I guess, post-traumatic stress disorder. That's how I would kind of classify it. And I mean, I'm no expert, but that's what I would kind of go with. And sometimes PTSD can make you do things that you wouldn't normally do. Again, I'm no expert. This is just, based on very little that I know and just, what I think is going on with Addie. But, you saw all those images popping into her head of, the cannibals and things like that. And all of that, all those bad things that happened to her. It was almost like, she was projecting them onto this, this guy and just, shooting him to stop anything else bad from happening to her. So I think that's more of what was going on. But I think that, Addie really sees this place as a chance to heal, from the things that have happened to her in the past. And she, flat out tells, Mac that she can't go on anymore, with this group. And, it was definitely very interesting, to see that happen because you really saw them as kind of a very strong couple. And part of me wishes that we would have had a few episodes to really delve into this. I understand it's a faster paced show, but it kind of felt like a lot of things were rushed. Even though it was a great episode, again, I'm not faulting them. But it really just seemed like, Addie was so, like in one day she's so much like impressioned by this, new community that she forgets 3 years of love with her boyfriend. It just really, I was like, really? Like, does that really happen? But, Addie is a different kind of person. Um, and I just think that, getting to be in there and realizing, and I think that, being out there as well, because one of the things they talked about was, hey, if you're out there, eventually Mac's gonna die, and you're gonna have to be the one that puts him down. And Addie doesn't want that to happen. And, I think that in many ways she would rather let Mac go than have to, watch him die. And, the scene between Mac and Addie is Mac is trying to convince her to keep going, and Addie, basically saying, no, I'm not going anymore, was really great acting by the two actors. I was really, really impressed, with the way that they worked together on that. That was very good. And it was kind of almost like, it was really like a tug of war in a sense. But then, like, Mac unfortunately got a little too physical, which almost kind of, pushed her towards, staying there, almost labeling him as more of like a guy that she should be afraid of. Which, I mean, it's just a natural response, I feel sometimes, like guys, might have to, like, grab onto something, or like you're grabbing onto something because you want to keep it close to you, or you want to, but you can't let go of it. Maybe like with an object, but it's the same thing. Like, some men, strength unfortunately can go with, the way they're feeling, their sadness, their anger, things like that. And I mean, he grabbed a hold of Addie too hard and unfortunately hurt her. And I think that kind of pushed her towards the commune. And we find out that one of the bikers actually did, get away, and he ends up going to the compound and basically saying, hey, I want the leader, to come out, or I'm going to kill the girl that was just with Murphy. And, basically Mac ends up saving the day. He basically ends up sneaking behind the guy and shooting him in the head. Which I guess maybe the reason why he did it was kind of to prevent anybody from getting hurt was the first reason. But I think also it was to, show Addie the extent that he was willing to go in order to, protect her, or maybe even convince her that this place isn't safe. Which I thought that maybe if they would have had more time, that they would have realized that, that hey, your place isn't exactly safe. And I thought that was going to be Addie's key, like, oh, this place really isn't safe. Mac really is my, knight in shining armor. I really thought they were going to go with that, but then they totally surprised us in the end. Addie chooses to stay. And unfortunately, there's not really a lot of interaction, because what ends up happening is, the gates are closed right after the guy is shot, and they shoot Mac just to wound him, and basically just force the others away. And, Mac's like ticked off and upset that, Addie's left behind. And basically the group starts to leave, and Mac, says, no, let me out of the truck, let me out, I can't do this. I can't leave her. And, kind of like, true love, that he would rather die trying to convince her that, he loves her and he needs her, rather than continue on with this mission and live without her. And I'm not sure if Mac's dead or not, because basically what ends up happening is he gets out of the truck, and after, he points his gun at Warren and says, I'm going, he starts to run back, and we see gunshots, being fired towards, and it seemed like it was towards him, because he was kind of like, stumbling back towards the gate, but we don't see the result of those gunshots. So he may be dead, he may not be dead. So they kind of left us off at a really bad cliffhanger. And I think it's, you're left up to decide whether he's dead or not, because I don't know if we're ever gonna find out this season. I feel like they might, revisit this group later on. I have no doubt about it. Part of the reason is because at the very end, the little girl that Addie was playing patty cake with, or some kind of clapping game, basically was saying like a poem or a song about butterflies, and it seemed to focus the camera on the girl that Murphy was with, her stomach. And I thought, maybe, what if she's pregnant with a zombie baby? That may be a possibility. I just found it very interesting that they would focus the camera like that. So I think they're foreshadowing a little bit there. But I think that there's unfinished business there. I really don't think that ending the character like that would be appropriate. Um, Again, this is Z Nation. They really don't tend to follow a formula, but I think that they did a lot of great, shocking things in this episode and really, change things up again, which is very shocking because normally, you don't change a lot of stuff in the first season. You kind of want to, balance it out. And I've heard some people have told me that they plan on running this show for 4 to 5 seasons. And part of me is wondering how they're really going to do that when they have so much taking place in each season. It's almost like you're going to have to bring in a new cast of characters each season because at this point we've lost, we lost Hammond, we lost uh, Garnett, we may have lost Mac, and Addie from the group, and I mean I'm sure that we're going to eventually see the Addie again, because I don't think her story's over, but it doesn't look like she's going to be in the next episode. So I'm really curious to see what's going to happen, but Mac may have died. So overall, I would give this episode a 9 out of 10. Again, I would just I kind of fault it just a tad little bit because it really did feel like it was rushed too much at the end to kind of, it's like Addie giving up 3 years of, love for, this compound and, not showing what happened with Mac. I mean, if they're going to do something by the end of the season, that's fine, but I really think and hope that there's more there. And I kind of wish that there would have been just a little bit more, that they could have done. They could have even done a 2-part episode. I mean, you look back on some of the episodes, we could have clearly cut out, that freaking, 8th episode Tsunami, and we could have done something like a 2-part episode here. I think that would have been a better use of their time, and again, at some points, Z Nation does a great job of doing fast-paced storylines that kind of feel like movies and it's appropriate. But I feel here that there should have been a little bit more exploration before they did what they did. So again, no, very shocking, very good story writing, very good acting. Overall, I was impressed, and I hope that the last 2 episodes are just like this. Thank you all for watching. If you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them. Feel free to subscribe. I have more videos coming. And if you have a video topic on Z Nation, don't be afraid to suggest it. I think we have a few that we could definitely use, and I might do a couple. And again, don't be afraid to comment on this video, or don't be afraid to chat with me on this episode. So much happened that there really is a lot more to talk about. So if you guys are interested, don't be afraid to comment. I will write back, because there's a lot to talk about, and I have no problems discussing it with anybody. Thank you all. I hope you have a wonderful evening. Thank you.